Hello, this video is on our digital readout, our Acu-Rite Digital Readout that is placed on our lathes, our glossy Matosa lathes. So we have 6 of them, and so what we're going to need to talk about is some of the basics for how to use this so that we can do diameters and set lengths. It's most effective using to get our part to the overall right length when we know how long it is and we know how much we want to take off. So when you power up the machine, this is the screen that you get. Okay, power was off, press any key. Then we get this other screen. Quite often it defaults to this set. Okay, now stuff across the top can be controlled like a toggle with these on the bottom. So here I have set or 0. So set I would use if I wanted to set to a certain number. Like let's say my part is 8.75 right now, and I know I want to go to 8.5. On our machines, we have to say, leave it at set, I'm going to say Z, pick this for the Z axis, comes up with this other screen and it highlights the Z axis. So that's longitudinal direction. Now for some reason on this machine, it counts down closer to the spindle, so we have to put a negative. So I would say I'm negative 8.75, and then I hit enter, and then now it puts it in there. And then now as I move my carriage closer to the spindle, notice the numbers are counting down to where I can get to 8.5, and the negative is pretty much ignore it. Okay, so we've set it as a negative, and then as we get closer to the spindle, because when we're turning and doing those type of operations, we're moving to the spindle in the Z direction. Okay, that's how I could set it to a certain number. Let's say the other option would be I measured my part, whether it be through the height gauge or the micrometer, and I say, oh, I need to take off 123 thousandths. I don't really want to set it to 123 to count it down, because I know 123 is a number that's in my head. So I would rather come down, move the carriage until my tool just touches the front of the part, and I want to set my 0 there. So I want to 0 it out. So I would use this toggle set 0 button and toggle it. Now it says 0. Again, set 0, set 0, set 0. Okay? I always want to make sure it's an inch and absolute. So here's my inch. Another thing you want to make sure, because it gets messed up, is this rad di. That means radius or diameter, and that's relative to the x. Okay? You always want it to be diameter, and you can see if I can make it a little bit better to see. Because of the glare, it's kind of hard, but there's a little diameter signal right there. And when it's on radius, that goes away. So you want to see that diameter symbol. Can't square it up because they... Oh, there we go. A little bit more. What they did was they made the cord so short that I don't have room for the power cord. So, diameter. So some things I want to make sure that I want to do is first I would say make it say diameter. Make sure that it says inch. And then, unless of course you make it a metric part, but I wouldn't want to work with metric. We're mostly working with inch, so inch, diameter, shows me the symbol, diameter symbol. Does that help? No. Was hoping. So, if I want to set my 0, I move my part, touch off the front with my tool that I'm going to use to face so I can face it to length, and then I'm just going to hit my Z button, and it will now make it 0 because this says to 0 it. All right. On X, on the diameter, because of tool pressure, so I would make a cut, I would measure it with my micrometer, and let's say it's 1.259. Okay, so I would have to change this back to set, pick X, I would put 1.259, enter. Okay, now on the X you don't have to go negative, it counts down to the center. Okay, so I would then say I'm going to take a cut of maybe 20 or 30 thousandths. I'm looking at my number, let's say I got to go to 200, I come down 20 or 30 thousandths, I make my cut, you come out, you want to remeasure it, and sometimes you will get a different number than what you have on the digital readout when you're doing X. That's because of tool pressure, depending on how sharp or dull your tool is, how far your compound slide is hanging out and flexing, the type of material you're cutting. That tool pressure just kind of actually just pushes the tool away from the material. And so what I found that it takes about 3 times of measure, plug it in, cut, measure, adjust. Oh no, it's 1.207. So set 1.207, enter. Now it's the right number. I'd move it in 30 thousandths or so. If I'm getting close, I'd like to take about a 10 or 15 thousandths cut for my final pass. So you might adjust, like if I had 40 thousandths, I might take 25 and then 15. But anyways, I go to my next number, I make my cut, I come back out, I measure again, and it seems like for this digital readout on our machines, it takes like 3 times, and by the 3rd time, the number I measure is really close to the number here. So if I'm doing that when I'm doing my roughing along the way, you know, if I got a bunch of material to take off, then I can start to trust it, but I still need to check frequently. And when you get to about 20 thousandths from the diameter that you want it to be, you definitely want to check again. But, so that's how I set a number with set down here. Or if I want to 0 a number, I got to toggle it. I could touch off because I'm doing my own math. And I can say, I'm going to 0x also. I'm going to keep track of the numbers, but don't forget that we need diameter, which is controlled down here. Those are the pretty basic functions that we use for this on the mill. There are some other things that can be done on, on the lathe. This is how we use that on the lathe. This could go on a mill, but we have them on our lathes to help make things a little bit more accurate. So that's our digital readout, which we also call DRO for short, digital readout, DRO. So that's the DRO. You don't have to turn it off. When you turn the power on the machine off, this will go off. When you turn the power of the machine back on, this will come on. That way, we don't wear out the little switch that I can't fix, that we'll end up having to call a service guy out for, which will be like an act of Congress. So I haven't had any issues with these at all. They automatically go off, like I said, when you power down the machine. So I'm going to power down the machine. So it goes off. When I power my machine back on, it automatically comes back on. Sometimes it gives a blank screen like that. I can see it's illuminated, but there's nothing there. There we go. Now it came up. That's what we had before. Sometimes if you let it sit and you didn't touch it when we powered up the machine, we walked away, we went and got our tools, washed our hands, got our parts out of our locker, and came back, you might see that blank screen that's just illuminated, and all you got to do is hit any key, and it'll come back to life. All right, that's it for our DRO.